Yeah, we have started recording. Welcome to episode 4 of Before Tomorrow. Before we start, I think I'd like to give this right now to Keto to talk about the current situation that we're in right now.
Yes, we obviously can't ignore what's happening in the world right now and in our country right now. And we are not really in a position to offer a lot to this conversation, but we do just want to say Black Lives Matter, their stories matter, their voices matter. The fight that's going on right now matters way more than this little podcast or our show. And we stand with everyone who's out there fighting the good fight, and we believe in it wholeheartely. But, you know, we also love our fans, and we wanted to, continue to do this show as a gift to you, and for anyone who might just need a little escapism this week. So, love you.
I second that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Except for the little podcast part of it. But other than that,
not to belittle you.
I'm kidding. Of course, absolutely.
Dozens of listeners.
Dozens of listeners are very excited about this. So I guess we should start. We have some questions. People are curious about a bunch of stuff. So let's get to it, guys. Oh, by the way, here we have Phil, Keto, and Morgan.
Hello.
Hello.
Question number 1. Jess TM to the 7th wants to know, what is something you learned while writing this episode/season?
Oof.
That's a big one.
Okay, well, this episode, I think I learned that we wrote way too much, we shot way too much. So much of this episode sadly ended up on the cutting room floor. I think we had enough for maybe 2 episodes ultimately, right?
I think it was like 16 or 17 minutes over. Yeah, it was almost 50% too big.
Yeah. So yeah, we realized that like we should have and could have simplified a lot of things before we came into this, and it's a shame because there's a lot of really wonderful material that we can't show you tomorrow, and maybe someday some producer's cut or something will make the light of day, but who knows. But I think I learned a lesson that we can keep our stories much more simple and collective, as opposed to having like 1,000 things that we have to tie up in a finale.
I pretend that I learned that lesson, but I feel like we've told ourselves that for the 4 finales that preceded this one, and every year we're like, guys, we're gonna streamline this stuff. The mythology is gonna be so just rock simple. It's gonna be all about our characters. Like, we're gonna have all these episodes that are like the Seinfeld of time travel. They're just about nothing. And then by the time we get to the end, we're like, we have 28 plots that we need to resolve at the same moment.
In 42 minutes.
And I would say I learned there is no costume that Jess McCallan can't elevate, whether it be a moose head or a Spock costume. But actually, in seriousness, I think this season for me, the most exciting stuff to write was the sibling dynamic between the Tarazis, and just how awesome it is to have a brother and sister on the ship. They were so fun to write. So that for me was a real joy this season.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I've thoroughly enjoyed the Tarazi siblings. They're just delightful.
I never expected that the bathroom line would become such a font for just dramatic material. And I mean, I think we had like 3 or 4 bathroom line scenes this season, and they're probably like among my favorite scenes of the whole season. If it were up to me, the show would just be called Bathroom Line.
Great title. All right, great. Question number 2. Geeky Ramblings, maker of Adam's Unicorn, wants to know. I'll show that off later, by the way, the unicorn.
Okay.
She wants to know, where did the idea for Swan Thong come from, and how much fun was it to have Cisco on set?
Oh, man. Well, Phil can certainly speak to the last part, but in terms of the song, the title, that came from, obviously, we have a very special cameo coming up as Cisco, and that was, came out of the fun idea of the History Museum, as it's called, but sort of the history of or museum of bad ideas of humanity from the Fates point of view. And we came up with a massive list of titles, which I did post on social media. So
that was amazing. Incredible list.
All the different versions of the title that we came up with. And the winner was Swan Thong. And that was Mark Bruner, our staff writer, who, after we had gone through all these thong puns and dumb puns and trash puns, and you'll see why when you watch the episode. But when he said that, I think there was all a collective moment in the room, and then we were just all like, "That's it, that's our winner." Like, it was pretty clear when the words were uttered.
Yeah, I think I was out of the room, working on some notes or something for the script, and came back in, and there was Mark, and he just had the big announcement. And every time I still, as I say it to myself, I still think it's funny.
I know, it's hilarious.
Swan Thong out loud is funny.
And kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say.
Hemingway's iceberg theory about stories, about what's above the surface and what's below. It's sort of like that in the writer's room. What you see above the water is breaking the episode. The below the water is coming up with the title.
It's really hard. Yeah.
That's 90% of the work.
Do you guys have as many titles in every episode as that?
Yes.
I feel like some just happen.
Some are just we're just like, what's the title? And someone will come up with the right version of double entendre or pun or words that, mean different things in the different storyline. It'll usually come out like that, or it'll take a lot of brainstorming.
Because Legends of Meow Meow, definitely we had a board.
That was a big board. Yeah.
I am Legends. They had a board.
That was a big one.
But a couple titles have existed before the episode, so we've actually come up with an episode that would fit the title.
Wow.
I mean, Zari Not Zari was like that.
Yeah.
Zari Not Zari. Yeah, we've had that. That was a potential title for multiple episodes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
About, and then this one made the most sense because there are two of them. So.
Amazing. Well done, guys.
Remember when we used to have serious titles, though?
Oh, good Lord. I don't think I was on the show back then.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
I think by season 2, we had started to, or was it mine and Chris's episode, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where we really just said, screw it?
That feels like when we gave
that
up.
was when we were just like, we're not doing serious titles anymore.
Yeah.
I support that. I mean, lack of serious titles, not serious titles.
Of course.
All right, the Loom of Fate was false advertising, wants to know. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is a Zari merge? Sorry, do you... Okay, sorry. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is a Zari merge?
Well, that's a hard question, because if we say 5 or above, that means it's going to happen. If we say 5 or below, it's not. I
feel like you have to say, spoiler, you're going to have to watch the episode.
Great. I love that answer. Blackjack DRX wants to know, any chance we'll go back to the future to explore the origin of Ava Corp and Ava's backstory?
There's always a chance.
That's one of our evergreen pitches for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Her backstory has given us a lot of great moments, and Jess does so much great work with everything she does, but I feel like it's always on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I can't wait for it. Coco has stopped functioning, wants to know, what is one thing you personally would want to see happen if you could make it happen next season?
Ooh.
That's a hard one.
That is hard. It's tough.
The defeat of coronavirus?
Yes, please.
You guys can think about it. I can go to another question and come back to it.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. I usually don't like to put really hard ones.
Well, I'm trying to think of things that we've talked about but haven't done, but aren't then spoilers, because then if they do happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I always liked the idea of the Legends getting trapped in a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's always like a board,
Right,
like a
we almost
Jumanji.
did
Like a
that.
Jumanji thing?
We almost did Jumanji. We actually had an episode this season that was almost a Jumanji episode. We had
Yeah.
broken out like a whole version. It was
Mhm.
Mr. Parker's Cul-de-sac was
Yeah.
going to be a Jumanji thing where
Wow.
Ray Palmer and Neil McDonough and Damien Dark got trapped in a cowboy version of Jumanji, and
But
they had to
then,
work through
yeah.
their issues in the game. It was awesome.
We realized it was more than like an act. We're like, this is a whole
Yeah.
episode.
Mhm.
But also, it was the whole episode, and it took Nora out of it, and that was the problem. It's like it needed to be a Nora story about her confronting her dad and like her coming out story to him. So like taking her away from that didn't feel right. So yeah, Mr. Parker.
And like character-wise, I don't know. I mean, I think like Zari and Ava's friendship is something that we've had little moments with, but would be fun to see more of. I like that. I like that pairing a lot.
Great.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
Okay. All right. Well, there's still time within this discussion to bring it. Oh yeah. Oh shit. I thought about something. So keep it in the back of your mind as we go on to the next question by V. Ger Beher writes, like Berad. Ger Beher writes, wants to know, does Gary write fan fiction for any of the shows featured in the last episode? Maybe a little self-insert High Castle Abbey fiction with a handsome American who charms Mr. Constantine?
Wait, does Gary do that? Did Gary the sign wielding crazy Gary do that?
That's the question. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see why not. It seems like, Gary is Gary in any timeline. And it seems
That's right.
like, yeah, he totally would have
He's definitely
picked it up.
I will say, compared to the storylines we're considering for your character next season, that would be like a pretty conservative
Yeah.
revelation about who you are.
That's great. That's a good tease. All right, great. So Jordy BLM wants to know, what was the inspiration for the Night of the Museum theme?
Oh man.
I don't know how much we should talk about the episode. Like, it seems.
I know what I think I think it was not getting wet. I mean, that's the trick to doing anything.
I'm like, okay, yeah.
When it comes to a finale, we know that we're like shooting in the middle of winter in Vancouver when everybody's exhausted and tired and pissed off. And so that's why, Hayworld was under the big top, and, the museum was in a nice kind of cozy soundstage. You're welcome.
But I do think Ty Carter, one of our writers, is the one responsible for taking us in that direction. I'm trying to remember. I feel like it was Matt and Ty talking about those things. I'm trying not to spoil anything. But like I want to give credit to those two guys because I think they're the ones who took us in that direction.
About right. That definitely seems about right.
I do remember watching a Sheryl Crow video for If It Makes You
Happy. That's right.
As inspiration. So we should give some credit there.
Shout out to Sheryl Crow.
Love that song. Lily BLM wants to know, any Avalance bed scenes in the future? Just them cuddling and talking? Those are so cute.
I mean, we're still waiting to get guidelines from, BC Film Council about what we can shoot and not shoot. Sarah and Ava might be in separate beds next season, just kind of talking loudly, across the bedroom. I'm not sure.
To be clear, this is because of coronavirus, not because Canada's becoming like more conservative.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for clarifying.
Yes.
Maybe that's a good way to
Happy
keep the
Pride,
relationship
everyone.
going.
Yeah, I mean, we love pillow talk scenes. They're the best.
Yeah.
Everyone loves pillow talk.
We love scenes where our characters just get to be human beings. They're so much fun to write, and they feel, they're what ground our show and what make those relationships feel real and meaningful and make us root for them. So obviously scenes with characters being humans and being together is what we want, but yeah, it's going to be a challenge moving forward to see what we're allowed to do.
What we're allowed to do. Well, I'm optimistic. But what do I know? Anyway, next question. Ayan Das wants to know, will we see a clean resolution of the Nate, Zari, Constantine triangle this finale? I mean, you don't want that spoiler. Come on, Ayan Das.
Wait, let's, is it really, do you guys feel like it's a triangle?
Oh no, it's a
square?
It got popped to a square in this last episode.
It popped to a square at the end of 14. Now that they're two Zaris, right?
And I feel like the triangle kind of died out a little bit, even when there was just one Zari. I mean, I think
he hasn't been interested in her that way for a while.
Yeah, I think Nate got it.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, wait, what? Nate is still interested in Zari 1.0. Get out of here.
Not his girlfriend.
We're talking about 2.0. So 2.0 is canoodling with Constantine.
That's right.
But he doesn't seem to be bothered by that.
Right.
He missed 1.0, the other one. So yes. So now that they're both back, it is kind of just a duo.
That's true.
But yes, there will be a resolution of sorts in this episode.
Ooh, very exciting. Okay. Core Slayage wants to know, will there be a more clear explanation as to how Sarah survived seeing God's true form? What and how does being the paragon of destiny have to do with it? What does that even mean?
You know what? Core Slayage, I hear you. But,
I've got to deal with a kid.
Just me and you, Keto.
Let's see. Will there be a more satisfying explanation? Not explicitly. Honestly, Sarah Lance is truly a unique being in our universe, in our Arrowverse, in our sort of new multiverse. She is really unlike any other person that's been in any of the shows, in the number of times she's died and the number of timelines that she's lived in the number of all the transformations that she's gone through. We felt that it was important to acknowledge that beyond the crossover where she was dubbed the Paragon of Destiny, and her in her journey of being the Paragon, reflecting on all of that, on how insane her journey has been from being like a regular old girl who got on a boat to now being this kind of this snowflake, this very particular kind of unique creature. And honestly, with the goddess that she encountered, being also sort of a being about destiny, about death, about where everyone ends up, it seemed like Sarah should be immune to that. Sarah should be almost on par with that in a way, in her own way, by being a paragon, by being someone who helped create a new universe. So we, in a way, see Sarah as kind of a godlike character. And this was our way of kind of telling a story about that. And that, Goddess ain't got nothing on Sarah Lance,
Sarah's a god. Deal with it, Core Slayage. Sarah is a god. Or it's a piece of art. It's in the eye of the beholder. All right. Captain Pantsuit BLM wants to know, in case you get your well-deserved episode 100, hope so, please, at the CW, do you already have any ideas about it?
Well, I usually think about where we would like to have the party and what kind of snacks we would like to have. I think about that a lot. I have no idea what the episode is going to be. And given our current pace, I think that's going to be like season 14 or 15. So yeah. It'll be my retirement party too. So it's going to be a big night.
That sounds fun. Kate Constant Green Stan wants to know, so Gary knew the world was wrong in the last episode. Was that the Fates / Charlie just letting him be, or is there something more about it? All right, great. I love it. That's the answer. 6. Oh yeah, I did it this way, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We have some surprises coming about Gary.
Love it. Great. Melon, hashtag BLM, wants to know, now everyone wants to know, was having Sarah wear tank tops almost every episode a strategic move by you guys, or was that just the outfit department helping out us fans? Good question.
Well, hey, I mean, she's got some serious guns. I mean, she works hard for those, so like, we gotta let her show them off, right?
Show 'em off.
Mm-hmm.
All hail Sarah Lance, the god. Abby, Black Lives Matter, wants to know, what were the logistics of having two Zaris in the same shots? Were there any technical things that needed to be done other than having a stunt double?
Yeah, it's about the worst thing you can do to your casting crew. In particular, the person who is having to play the two parts, because everybody would have to wait for 2 to 3 hours for Tala to get made up to look like the corresponding version of her character. And there's like the simple version that's called like a split screen, where you have one character and another character and they never cross. And that's pretty easy if you leave the camera locked off. But anytime you want the camera to move, you have to get this thing called a repeatable head, which is like, maybe you would take like a SpaceX rocket, and then a repeatable head is just the second most complicated thing you can imagine.
What?
It's just like, it's like when crew members see like pieces of equipment arrive, they just know that their day is going to be utter hell, because it's so slow. And then like every time a character crosses like this, you have to do something called rotoscoping, right? Where you have a visual effects artist who has to go by frame and cut somebody out, right? So that you can get the crosses. Right. And so it's just like, there's like a simple way of doing it that's complicated, and then the complicated way of doing it is just painful. And like for a while, I think we were just like, let's keep two Zaris forever. And I think our line producer was just like, hey,
No.
you guys need to think of another story, because like everybody will quit.
We'll have a revolt. Yeah.
I'd love to hear Tala also talk about how she finds the character, because it's two different people. It's two different people. And it's so amazing. I'd love to hear her talk about what she uses to like find the character.
Yeah, the thing that blew my mind was like, I didn't think of them as being totally different characters until they met each other in the totem. And there was just a way that Zari 2.0 held her little feet, like as they, and I was just like, oh my God, like actors really do make 1,000 decisions.
Yeah.
And she thought of like, oh, this is how Zari 2.0 would hold her feet. And then Zari 1.0 just, of course, sits there with her
legs, just like.
Yeah. And you're like, that's
she has a different voice. I mean, in
totally.
514, when she splits or when she takes over the body of Zari 2.0, and her voice like drops an octave.
Yeah.
I know. And it was so eerie, because you're like, oh my God, she's back.
I know.
You knew immediately the second that she started speaking. You're like, it's her. Like it's incredible. She's so
Totally. And it's so hard because she wasn't doing it for so long, like to just go right back into it.
Yeah.
Tala, you're fantastic.
Oh, you're a genius. We love you.
You had to play against yourself being Charlie as you.
That was actually really fun. But maybe they didn't use the rotoscope for that one, so it was a little bit easier. I don't know. CJ BLM wants to know, how is it different writing for a finale episode than a regular one, since you have to conclude it?
Well, I think that goes back to our the original answer that we gave to the first question, which is that you end up having so many stories that you have to tie up in one episode, and throughout the rest of the season, in trying to keep things simple and fun and on their feet throughout the whole season, you end up backing a lot of these resolutions towards the end and sort of feeling like, we can deal with that later. We can deal with that later. And then suddenly it's later. And this is it. This is the only episode you have to do all these things. So that's, I've found to be a big challenge of writing finales. And then we have the added challenge on Legends on trying to top ourselves every year, or at least trying to like get to the same level as is expected of us from our fans and our and us, I think we always want to do something really unexpected and fun in our finale. And, coming up with that when our brains are dead tired from having broken, an entire season of story. And, it's coming up with that magical element is always hard. But I think we always find it in unexpected ways. And that's what really makes the show so delightful. So.
And we're usually like out of time and we're out of money. And like the other thing with finales is, by the time you get to the editing room, like everybody's gone home. And so if you discover that something's missing, normally you can get a pickup, or you can a new scene, or you can go back and get some cool reshoots. By the time you get to a finale, you really are forced to do some kind of creative post-production. I just feel like I just felt like we went into post like every day for like 2 weeks.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah. And it's like you're trying to cut things together and cobble things together and trim things, and like you kind of go a little crazy.
And there was a lot of ADR that you guys had to slip in there to bridge things like whole.
I'm sure they won't notice.
But again, like per Phil's, it was. And Morgan, you can certainly speak more to that because you were much more involved in that part of it than I was.
Well, it also just means like shout out to the editing team who sat there. They did all the work. We sat there, and then they really, I think, made because like you said, we had to cut out 17 minutes, and to be able to lose that without losing the essence is really they're so gifted at that, at really knowing like this is it. This is what this is really about. But yeah, trying to find the ways to stitch things together without it feeling like you're stitching, And I think I don't feel that way when I watch the final, when we sit down, you finally watch it, like, even though you've been sitting in there for 2 weeks, like when you finally watch the last time through, it's like, whoa. And then when you get to watch it on television and there's like music and VFX and it's like, you don't even remember what it was before. Yeah.
I know when you're a writer, we just have so many people following behind us, cleaning up our various messes. So by the time it is finished, like so many of the things have been, like it really does feel like a miracle. I agree. Like it's so much fun when it's like, but watching a rough cut on a finale is probably one of the hardest things that you ever have to do in this job.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, Sarah, Katie Lott's love bot, BLM, wants to know, if there was an Ava Lance proposal, do you think Ava would propose or Sarah? Asking for science.
Oh, man.
And why you got to put pressure on them to get married? Why can't they just date for a while?
Adam, this seems like you're talking about something. Oh. Okay.
I guess, I don't know.
I think either of them doing it.
Either of them could do it. I think either of them would do it, if they're
Maybe if they're truly made for each other, they would do it at the same time.
Right.
I annoyingly know a couple who did that. They like both didn't know that they were planning this hike to propose to each other. Like they both were like secretly planning this hike and like, oh yeah, I got the other person to come. And then, Didn't
that happen on Modern Family? Isn't that how they did Cam and Mitchell? I think it was
really?
a dual proposal between them.
So the science is still out, Katie. Love bot.
Oh wait,
we think it could go either way.
Can I go back to a question?
Yes, absolutely.
I also have to point out that doing a finale, it really helps to have your producing director be the one who's directing.
Ooh.
Like that's like,
shout out to Kevin Mark.
Because he's 2 or 3. He's done 2. He just did Hey World in this one.
Year.
Right.
he did 3.
He did 3 finales.
Oh, how many finales?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
He did Hey World.
I don't think he did Bebo.
No, wasn't that
yes.
Dermot? Did Dermot do?
No, Side and
Gregory.
Glance did
oh well.
2. Anyway, Kevin Mock is
Kevin's
amazing.
awesome. Is the
Kevin, but why are we talking about these other people? Yeah, I mean, it's just I mean, like with Hayworld, he had like 200 extras in the big top, and like you just have people screaming at a megaphone at background performers, and like it's total mayhem.
There's a dragon! There's a dragon, everybody! Look!
Look at this coffee cup. This is the dragon.
You're terrified. You're terrified.
I actually also, to give credit to you guys, the actors, because especially fifth season in, like, you guys know your characters so well, and our actors are always great about, reaching out to us if they feel like something's missing. And the finale is no different. Like, we got to speak to the actors about moments where they felt like they wanted something more, and so grateful to have people who are our coworkers who care so much about these characters that they are so invested and have that perspective. And there definitely are moments in the finale where that was what happened, and
Wow.
made it much better.
I don't reach out. I am an unquestionable soldier. I follow orders and do not even think.
I love it.
You're welcome.
We appreciate that too.
Next question. CJ BLM wants to know, okay, but how does Ava keep up with her podcast when she's getting eaten by zombies, stuck in TV shows, and saving the world? Like, dang, how strong is her work ethic?
Strong.
Real strong.
Real strong.
I mean, how is Gary doing this?
Yeah.
It's a great point. It's a really great point. He learned from Ava. He learned that work ethic from her.
Absolutely.
Related to a previous discussion we had, Lily BLM wants to know if you could wear any of the Legends outfits from this season, which would it be?
Zari 2.0.
Oh, what about
In the Marie Antoinette?
What if you
No,
could,
just like her outfits in general. I love all her clothes.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Although Courtney's dress as Marie Antoinette is pretty spectacular.
yeah, the red dress.
Yeah, that one was amazing. If I could wear the Zari 2.0 black and gold number she wore at her perfume premiere, like,
yeah,
I could pull that off, whew, I would be pretty happy. That was cool.
If I could pull off anything Astra wears, if I like embrace that sort of color palette and go for it.
If I had the body of Dionysus, then just like his topless look,
Yeah.
if I could pull that off, that would be awesome. Bill?
Charlie's hair, obviously, Charlie's hair this season was just crazy good.
Oh yeah, her leather fur coat in the last episode. That was
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Loved it.
Well, probably what I'm wearing is just Zari's plaid shirt most of the time.
A classic. Marquis wants to know who decided on the song Jess was to drunkenly sing, and were there other choices first? P.S. The scene was awesome, and we need more like that from other characters. So Marquis wants everyone to get drunk.
I think Poison was my idea, and I think it was because we wanted her to do a song in a 1940s big band style, and we were wondering which one it should be. And I had Poison stuck in my head because my husband is constantly listening to 90s on 9, like constantly. And they play Poison all the time on that station. So I think it was just like in my head, and I like was thinking of like, if you had the brass band and I just sort of, I think I even sang a little bit of it in the room, and then we're like, yeah, let's do that.
That's awesome. Love it. Love that scene. Jess was fantastic.
I love when she accidentally smashes her face into the microphone and she just kept performing, and then
I know, just like
He
just left it in the cut and put like this little feedback squawk. It's the best.
It was amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna ask this, but it was related. We sort of talked about Lay. Black Lives Matter wants to know. Since we saw all of the brainstormed ideas for the title of this finale, how did you decide on Swan, Thong, since they were all so amazing? And Phoenix BLM wants to know, why do so many of the alternate titles for the episode involve dumps? Ha ha ha.
Well, if you say ha ha ha, then you know
If you
the
recall the lyrics to the Swan Thong, to the
Dumps
Swan
like a truck.
Thong song.
answer.
Dumps like a truck.
Oh, I thought. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, you see?
I
There
was
you
in the
go.
bowel movement territory. I was going down that road. So
Well,
Well,
So was Cisco.
I mean, what is that song about?
it's true.
So,
Dumps like a truck. I still don't get it. I
I
don't
mean,
get
it just
it.
means butt, right? Just
yeah,
like
it's about her butt. Big butt.
Just a big butt.
Big butt.
It's not like a constipated person.
I don't
who's-
think
I
so.
hope not.
I think
Okay.
it was supposed
Although,
to be sexy-ish.
Oh,
But
great.
yeah, Swan Thong was the winner, and it was just because after we had exhausted our brains coming up with all the alts, when those words were uttered together, it was just ding, 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 ding.
Mark with a brilliant idea, and Mark with the incredible penmanship as well. Because
Yeah,
Mm.
that
Wrote-
is his genius handwriting. It's very, very beautiful to look at.
Just like
very
a-
calming. It's very zen-like. Just looking at it, it makes my blood
Yeah.
pressure lower. It's just
Yeah.
a beautiful thing.
Matt
actually,
Moss,
I wonder if there's like, because Matt and Mark have come up with a lot of the titles, and Matt and Mark both have just spectacular
Beautiful.
penmanship. I wonder if there is something in one's brain that like puts together great puns.
Very interesting.
And
wow, well, meticulously writing out.
laser etching.
Yeah.
yeah.
Captain Moose, Finnish flag, BLM, wants to know, can you describe in a few words the last scene of the season finale?
Oh man. In a few
Can I
words,
remember?
Unexpected. Ooh.
unexpected.
Yeah.
Celebratory blind spot.
Mm,
Love it.
like a board game. Right.
You
I
guys
know.
are
I'm just gonna say synonyms for what Keto's saying. So.
Great.
So I think.
Yeah, because we
that's
don't want to
pretty
like
good.
actually, tease
Yeah.
what it is. Because watch it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Jade wants to know if Sarah goes back in time and hooks up with someone, or Ava goes to the future and hooks up with someone, is it still cheating? Hashtag Avalance.
Yes,
How would it not?
yes, of course. They travel through time all the time.
It's like if I go to a different state, is it not cheating?
Right.
Arguably.
If I close my eyes, is it not cheating? I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, of
Yes.
course it's cheating.
Okay. I guess I was wrong on that one. Okay. Anna wants to know.
So you can
Are
stop
we-
working on your time travel device.
Yeah, forget it. All my plans, I'm gonna flush them down the toilet. No, I'll recycle the paper. Anna wants to know: are we gonna suffer from this episode, or can we have a happy season ending? Hashtag before tomorrow. Ooh.
Ooh, nice little hashtag. Ooh, what do you want to say, Phil?
I mean, it's bittersweet, but I think more sweet than bitter, to quote Big Head Todd and the Monster. Oh, all the 90s dads are laughing.
Great. All right. Well, guess what, guys? We have come to the final question, which is by Tia, who wants to know: how often do you disagree on stuff, and how do you make decisions when not everyone agrees? Who has the final call?
Is this
Phil
before?
does. This Phil does.
No. I'm more of like a mediator, but we don't. I will say it's much easier to disagree in person than it is on Zoom. I
Yeah.
feel like we used to be better at arguing and finding consensus, because when you're in a room with people, there's just like, I don't know, there's more of a fluidity to it.
Energy. You can
Yeah.
tell when something isn't sitting right with someone, and you can see their body language and be like, okay, you can call someone out and be like, what's going on? What are you thinking about that? And then they'll be forced to sort of express, maybe a misgiving or an alt pitch or something like that. And that always helps us with the process, finding the right version of something. But yeah, we have disagreements, all the time, but most of them, it's true. It does happen more in person, where it's easier to have a, constructive discussion, to build off of. Whereas in this format in Zoom, when we've been doing it, it's been a lot harder to have those kinds of, differences of opinion.
I was gonna say, Phil, and I mean, and everyone on the top of our team who built the team, I think you've done a great job of building a team and building a, you know, an environment in the room where disagreements aren't arguments. They're just like disagreements. Like, I think everyone has their heart so fully in this process that the disagreement is just because like people are like, I can't see that. And I like, it's almost like, I want to understand what you're saying. I can't get it. Can you help me? Here's
Right.
what I'm seeing. I feel like the harshest criticisms people give are like, that's interesting. Like
Yeah.
it's never, it's never anything
And
like.
then sometimes James is just quiet for a long stretch, and then we'll just turn to him and be like, "Who's right, James?" And then usually he has an answer for that. It's helpful. It's helpful.
Or it's just like you can tell he's not quite seeing something, and so when you ask him about it, he's like, he'll try to articulate what he thinks it is, and that's usually a sign to us of like, okay, that's clearly not working because it doesn't make any sense, and then we have to sort of rethink it. So yeah.
And ultimately, whoever's writing on the board has the final say. Because if they don't like it, it doesn't matter.
Or Mark Bruner usually have the final say.
They'll just stand there and be like, interesting.
That's true. When Matt does the hovering over the board and keeps sort of looking over his shoulder at us, like,
We're not
okay,
there.
you haven't found it yet. You haven't
Nope.
found it yet.
Still circling.
Okay, Cisco shows up. Okay, that one we'll put on the board.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you guys for a spirited, lovely, disagreement-free discussion. And tune in to the finale.
And thank you, Adam, for hosting this.
Thanks, Adam.
Adam.
Sorry, we stepped on your thing. Do your thing. I was totally stepped on you were doing
No, I don't know. I was riffing. I didn't have a thing. I just watched the finale and prepare to be wowed.
If you watch this and don't watch the finale, God bless you. Somehow you've made it this far.
Yeah, watch the finale. Watch this. Watch this again. There's things you didn't catch the first time. You will catch it the second time. I promise.
All right.
All right. Can't wait to see you in person.